yourself in the mirror and think, what's wrong with me? Or replay that one thing you said again and again, like your brain's on a shame loop treadmill with no off switch? Well, listeners, it has happened with me a lot of times. Now, today we are cracking open a conversation that goes deeper than mindset or positive affirmations. We are talking about the inner narcissist, the part of us that wears the mask of self improvement but secretly feeds on our insecurity, guilt, and perfectionism. And the wild part? Even the most self aware, healed among us aren't immune to this. Listeners, welcome to the Mindful Living Podcast, and I'm your host, Sana. For this episode, joining me today is Emma Lyons, trauma informed healer and creator of the Trauma Matrix, who helps women dismantle the shame voice that masquerades as self discipline but is actually rooted in internalized narcissism. And this isn't about fixing yourself, it's about freeing yourself. So take a breath, get curious, and let's get radically honest, listeners. So, Emma, welcome to the show, and I'm really, really excited and honored to have you here with us.
Thank you so much for having me on the podcast. Great to be here.
Um, Emma, to begin with, we'll try to understand about the inner narcissist, but before that, I believe our listeners, including myself, we all would love to know were there or was there any specific moment or moments in your life where you suddenly realize that this inner critic or inner self within you is more harmful than what you thought.
That's a really great question, Sana. And what I could tell you is that I have experienced this really harsh inner critic since I was a child. Like this really, I had a very shaming voice that would say really quite malignant stuff to me. I mean, I had suicidal ideation as a child and as a young adult, and I thought that was kind of normal. And I was also kind of depressed, kind of low to moderate level kind of depressed my whole life, and no one even noticed. I just kind of thought that it was normal. So I definitely had that voice, and I struggled. I found myself really struggling to do therapy, to do all these kind of healing work to deal with the problem, which was basically I felt was shame. There's something wrong with me. And what I kept coming up against is the common wisdom that says, you should sit down, you should empathize with that part, you should find out how that formed and really try to dig into it. And what I noticed that for so long in my life, I was sitting down with this, I call it an inner narcissist. I mean, in therapy speak, it's called an inner critic. But I was sitting down with this thing with this part of me that I had internalized and trying to understand it, trying to empathize it. And what I realized after a certain point was that every time I tried to dance or perform for that being, I was just reinforcing it, just like a narcissist. And things really clicked for me when I realized that my family had narcissistic elements to it. My mother, I discovered, had definitely aspects of covert narcissism, and this is a kind of narcissism that's not so obvious. It's not kind of your Donald Trump extroverted. It's more a vulnerable kind of narcissist that projects shame on you and kind of makes you responsible for their feelings, and it's less obvious. And I realized that the reason why I had internalized all this shame that had been with me for my whole life was because I was because of my mother and my dysfunctional family system in which I was kind of the scapegoat. I was playing the role of scapegoat, which and the scapegoat it basically becomes the landfill for all the unprocessed shame and all the ancestral drama that the family doesn't want to deal with. It just gets deposed on one person, and it's often the shy and sensitive one, the one that's most empathic, they're often the ones that get it. And the thing is, we bring that into our adult lives as well. So we end up carrying that role, which is one of really shame. It's a shame-based role. We bring that into adulthood. And the thing is, when you're playing the role of scapegoat, consciously or unconsciously, it's like that
Mhm.
role, it's not designed for you to be successful. It's designed for you to go round and round in circles. This was really the key to getting me unstuck, because for so long I had been struggling against this self-sabotage, trying to figure myself out, trying to fix myself. But all that time I was coming from a place of shame, and even this idea that I have to fix myself, it comes from this place of shame. There's something wrong with me. So I had to really move beyond that in order to get to a place where I was actually healing rather than just feeding this thing and getting more involved in the loop of shame that I was stuck on since a very young child.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's quite a profound, deeper explanation of that. And Emma, I could connect with that on so many levels because number one, all I could picturize is it's like a creeper or a kind of a creature who is or which is in a symbiotic relationship with you, or it's more of like a demon that is feeding on your fear, insecurities, giving you more and more negative thoughts and feeling of shame, and even one failure which may be just a simple, I mean, it happens with everyone, but for that person who is kind of in a battle with their narcissistic self, even one failure can seem so much devastating. It can have such a devastating effect on you, even if that failure is just natural. It happens. There is no big deal.
Absolutely. And this is the thing. When somebody tries to shame you, like if I say to you, I hate your orange jumpers, and I mean, you're not going to be affected by that. You're just going to think I'm crazy. But we feel shame when the narcissist inside ourselves shames us and agrees with that and says, "Yeah, you look like a fool. You're an idiot. Your jumper is your sweater is so stupid looking." When you agree, that's when you feel shame. So way of getting ourselves out of this shame spiral is to address this inner narcissist, and I love the way you've said it. That's exactly how I conceptualize it. It is it's not, and that's not the way common therapy speaks about it. They speak about it as a part of you that's wounded, like a wounded child. But I don't see it that way at all. I mean, for most of my life, that's how I saw it. And I was trying to understand it, trying to take it for tea, trying to feel into it. And what happened is it just got stronger and stronger, and I became more and more under the spell of this thing. It wasn't until I differentiated myself from this thing and realized that it's not me, it's just carrying all that ancient shame and weaponizing it against me. And it doesn't have my best interests at heart. It's not trying to protect me or keep me safe. It's actually trying to destroy me. That really empowered me to say no to this thing and to not let that shame come in and affect me.
Absolutely, absolutely. Oh, and oh my goodness, I mean, so many thoughts I'm having right now. One thing I would like to point out here, especially when you mention about like sometimes identifying about our physical appearance, especially in men, women, and girls.
Yes.
Sometimes in your families, let's say if your brothers or sisters, your relatives, they're just making, could be, just a light joke about your physical appearance. Oh my goodness, you're so chubby, you're fat, or you have hair, or I mean, not
Yeah.
I was giving offense to anyone, but they kind of sit within you. You carry it within. Maybe initially you try to just rub it out that okay, fine, let's just forget about it. But as you grow up, sometimes people, they have told me that, why don't you take this joke seriously? I mean, we're just joking about you. Why are you taking it seriously? It's okay if you're fat or you're chubby, it's fine. But it's still, sometimes it definitely hurts me. And that's the reason I also don't find it funny to sometimes, uh, make any kind of taunt on physical appearance or even whatever they have said. It's okay, fine. We're all humans. That's where kind of, become empathetic towards this, and I shouldn't make fun of anyone without any reason. So
Yeah.
I could actually, yeah, recap that.
Absolutely. This is such a good point. And the reason why people do that is because we're all operating out of a sense of shame because it's the kind of culture that we live in. If you look at our governments, everything in society, people are operating out of a sense of shame. The question is not whether they're operating out of shame, it's to what degree they're conscious of it. That's the real key, and to what degree they're connected with it and to what degree it's actually controlling them. That's the real question. So, yeah, and shame is weaponized when people are carrying shame, like your brother and sister. They carrying their own shame, and one way to offset that to make you feel a little bit better is to make a joke about someone else and say, "Oh, Sana, you're really fat," because that makes them feel a bit better about themselves. So it's a way of kind of passing on the burden of shame to someone else. And we all do it when we're in that when we're unconsciously kind of under the spell of shame. We all do it. I do it. I've done it in the past rather. I don't do it anymore, but I victimized myself with that thing. For me, I internalized it and I made those jokes against myself and made myself small and then wondered why I couldn't be successful and why I was self-sabotaging. But, because really, when you become free of, that narcissistic voice, and
Mhm.
I mean, I was talking to someone the other day, and they were
Mhm.
talking about how when they were young people, they were just sitting eating ice cream, and a man came up to them and told them, "You're too fat. You shouldn't be eating ice cream." And they just laughed at him. That's freedom. That's freedom. But when you agree with it on some level, or your inner narcissist agrees with it, that's when you'll experience shame. So the real freedom is stop shaming yourself and stop personalizing this shame voice from other people. Recognize that it's their shame that they're trying to offset on you, and stop doing it to yourself. Like, break free of the internalized shame. And then anyone trying to shame you from the outside, you'll just laugh at them because they can't. It's like a lock. It needs a key to get in. If you don't have that lock in place, they can't get you with shame. So the more you free yourself of this inner narcissist, the more immune you become to other people shaming you and being narcissistic supply for narcissists out there in the world.
Totally, totally. I agree with you. And um, as you mentioned about freedom, I think, in many of the conversations and, in discussions, especially when we talk about a narcissistic person of your acquaintance, maybe a partner or someone. So,
Mm.
a very brilliant, very effective, way of tackling, quote unquote, tackling them is to either question them back or just showing that you're not affected by what they have said. You have heard it, but it's not affecting you. Okay, fine. Okay, you have said that, but here's what I feel. This is my opinion. And I also believe that that kind of internal dialogue, that self-awareness has to be there when it comes to our own inner narcissist self. I mean, I would love to know your opinion on that, Emma.
That's a great point. So when someone tries to shame you, or when a narcissist tries to weaponize shame, or any person, you don't need to be a narcissist to do this. Like I said, it's so normalized that people do it on the regular with other people and with themselves. The way to separate yourself from this voice is to recognize that it's not you. You don't. Dr. Ramani, who's an expert on narcissists, she says, "Don't defend." It's deep is the acronym. So don't defend, don't engage, don't explain, and don't personalize. And that really sums it up. So you don't defend yourself. You don't engage with them and try to argue with them. You don't try to explain yourself, and you don't personalize. You don't take it personally what they're saying. And that's when you just laugh at them. Or just walk away. They can't attack you, or they can't get any supply from you if you have no receptors to it and you don't defend yourself, you don't engage, you don't explain, and you don't take it personally. Then they have nothing. They have nothing that they can take away from that conversation. There is no conversation.
Hmm. That's a really good one, Emma.
It is. It's very powerful because we've been taught to argue with these people. We've been taught, and the same thing with this inner narcissist voice. And that's what kind of made the penny drop for me when I realized, all the advice out there about narcissists out there in the world. They say, don't defend, don't engage, don't explain, don't personalize. You can't change these people. They're going to continue doing what they're doing. And you've just got to get away from them and gray rock them and not take it in, because anything that you do is just going to give them more supply and keep the thing going. And it's the same with that inner narcissist that we have inside of us, that parasite that we have. It's exactly the same. We need to not defend it, because when we defend ourselves, same thing, it feeds on that. When we engage with that, same. When we start to explain ourselves and justify and take it personally, it just gives more fuel to this thing and it gets bigger and bigger and stronger and stronger. So don't give it any rope. Don't try to explain. Don't defend yourself. Give them nothing. And then they can get nothing from you.
Exactly. Exactly. Oh, that's yeah. I think we use this strategy when it comes to tackling negativity in our life, or um, why not use the strategy on our own inner negativity as well?
Exactly. And that's not what's the common wisdom. The common wisdom is that you want to integrate this thing. You want to integrate it. You want to understand where it comes from. You want to empathize with it. But this thing is shaming you. It's not trying to help you. It's not a lost part of you. It comes out of it many narcissists. They were brought up in toxic environments themselves, so they became narcissistic as a kind of strategy to that. And you can understand that with the narcissist that you meet on the outside world, but still, you don't stand there and let yourself be abused by them. You walk away. You have more self-respect than that. You walk away. You don't take it in. And it's the exact same with this inner narcissistic voice. And it's just like a covert narcissist, like a narcissistic mother. I realized that my mother is a narcissist, a covert narcissist. And this is more kind of less obvious type of narcissist. And it's the type that
Mm,
kind of pretends to care about you, but really it's all about controlling. For example, when I was in my 20s and I was
mm,
traveling in Mexico and I lost my passport or something, my mother was on the phone to me and she said, "You have to call me every day or it means you don't love me," which is classic, emotional manipulation. But
mm,
phoning her every day doesn't make me any safer. That's not for my benefit. But I'll tell you what that is for. That's to soothe her anxiety. That's prioritizing her needs above mine. And the same goes for when she told me that you can't be a singer, that you can't be a yoga teacher, you can't this that was not about me. She said, "Oh, I'm just trying to keep you safe. That's not realistic." But again, that was centering her own anxiety and her own feelings about that. And my feelings were to the side, it didn't matter. That's not realistic. That was her protective device. It was nothing to do with me. And this is the thing with narcissists, or that inner narcissistic voice. The same thing. It tells you that it wants to keep you safe, but really it just wants to squash you, it wants to destroy you. It wants to keep itself safe. It wants to keep itself in that leadership position where it's controlling you. And it doesn't want you to break free of the shame. And this
mm,
is what we do when we say no to it, and when we don't react to it, and we don't dance to its tune, and we don't also defend ourselves or rebel against it. Because if you're rebelling against the voice, you're still controlled by it. The best way that you can break free of this is to actually just thrive, do what you want to do. So you're not
mm.
doing what the voice says or that inner narcissist says, and you're not just doing the opposite. You're doing what you want to do. what turns you on, what sets you on fire, what makes you excited. Just do that regardless of what the voice says, and that is the best thing you can do. Thrive, do what you love. That is the way of liberation from this voice. It wants to keep you small, it wants to keep you in that tiny little box, and that is not beneficial for you. That is beneficial for it.
Exactly. Exactly. It kind of, wants to um keep you within the boundaries so that you are n- kind of unable to take any risk, even if you know. I mean, I'm just talking practicality sense, that this risk may be a good step for me, maybe this personal development step, or maybe this particular, if I move to this place, or if I move to some different country, or if I
Yeah.
learn something which may not conventionally fit into the framework that I've been brought in, the system that I've been brought in. It kind of will tell you that don't do it, don't do it. What gonna.
Exactly. It tells you to stay safe, stay in your box, stay where you are, stay unhappy, stay controllable. That's what it's all about. Stay stay subservient to it. It doesn't have your best intentions part or in at heart, I should say, at all. And this is in real stark contradiction to what the common wisdom is saying about this shame voice. It says to sit down with it, empathize it with it, and understand it. And I say that I've done that for a long period of time, and that got me nowhere because that shame, it's a bottomless pit. The more you sit with the shame, it has no end. Because especially in Christian, I mean, I was brought up in a Catholic country, so
Okay.
there's this with Christianity, for example, we have this idea of original sin
Yeah.
and also forgiveness. So you got to forgive. So shame is it's like the cross that we bear to prove that we're good people, and you have to be good and you have to carry shame makes you bad, makes you good. It's kind of weaponized, and we also use it as a shield because if I've done something bad, I feel shame about it. So that makes it okay. We've got to forgive ourselves. But it's this circular, it has no out to it, that kind of philosophy. It's like a double bind. There's no way out. And this is why, like in a country like Ireland that is really Catholic, and this is why I believe so many people have alcohol problems because it's this deeply entrenched sense of shame, and alcohol and drugs and things like that give us it. We when we drink and when we take drugs and things, we press pause on that for that time period. It gives us some temporary relief from the emotion, and shame isn't really a normal emotion either. Shame is not something that babies feel. Shame is something that is taught. It's not naturally occurring because I know that is to say that it's naturally occurring and a little bit of shame keeps you healthy. It's a very Eurocentric idea because yes, it is normalized in European cultures because of the Christianity and the idea of sin and shame and all of that. But if you look at indigenous cultures before Christianity arrived, like even in Ireland, before the Catholic Church came, there was no real shame. That concept of shame was kind of brought in by the church. The same with indigenous cultures in, the Americas, in Australia, for example. If people kind of did something bad, it was kind of this restorative justice thing. It wasn't like you're bad, you have to go away, you have to go into exile. It wasn't like that. Yeah, and like shame works in the short term. It's a quick weapon. You get people to do what you want, but in doing so, it is always toxic, even in small amounts. And we take a little bit of shame there, a little bit of shame there, and we internalize it, and it becomes extremely toxic. People that commit the worst crimes are often carrying a ton of internalized shame, and their actions, however terrible, are a reflection of that.
Mm, yes, yes. And Emma, I mean, that's a very um bold observation because the world will be really, really divided on this. And it's not only one country, one culture, or one continent. I think it's across multiple cultures.
Yeah.
And um, we, I mean, especially I have been very kind of, been vocal with my family members sometimes on this, that, something that may not be true, or something which may be identified as a shame. uh, what's the reason behind this? Why is it a shame? And why we have to repent in the most extreme ways, just to make sure that we realize that, this is shameful, we have done bad, so we should always be kind of, receiving
Well,
the. Mhm.
yeah, I mean, shame is this idea that you are bad, and that's the distinction between shame and guilt. So guilt says, I've done something bad. And shame says, I am bad. There's something wrong with me. So they're two different things. And, the Catholic or religious Christianity, for example, we have the two often get mixed up because even when you do something bad, oh, I've done something bad, we feel a sense of shame about that. But usually when we do something bad, there's shame mixed in that, and that becomes a toxic concoction. Because you can argue that guilt is it serves society in some way because you recognize that you've done something bad and you do something about it to you apologize or you say sorry to the person. So but shame says I am bad. It that can not be good. That is always corrosive. And even I'm focusing on kind of Christian cultures, but like it's Christian cultures affected everywhere. Like the English came along and they colonized everywhere. They brought Christianity. So it affected lots of those colonial places. But also in other religions, there's in Eastern religion, say in China and Japan, they have
Mhm.
a different kind of idea of shame. It's not so much internalized. It's kind of this idea of honor, and you have to
Yeah.
stay in the collective in what's normal and what's allowed. And if you step out of that, if you step out what the family dictates or the society dictates as normal, then you are
Yeah.
shamed for that. But it's
Mm.
just a slightly kind of it's slightly color of shame, but it's still very corrosive. And like I mentioned, shame, this internal narcissist, this shame voice is what is it's you need to have this in order to commit the final act of erasure and destroy yourself. Because without that, people will not commit suicide, for example. That voice needs to be activated because no matter what happens, no matter how bad or destructive things are happening outside, you need that inner voice to agree with it in order for you to kind of go to that degree and take that action because the voice says, "Oh, you're useless. You might as well not be here." And
Mm.
that's malignant. That's extreme malignant narcissism right there.
Yeah. Yeah. That absolutely makes sense. Oh, I mean, I know that time is a constraint here, but before we wrap up, Emma, one thing which really has piqued my interest is your framework, which is evict the narc within. It sounds really intense. And what does this framework look like? I mean, how can listeners begin today?
Well, I do have an offer. It's a free offer for people. If this conversation inspired you, I have a free gift, and it's called Five Signs It's Time to Break Up with Your Inner Narcissist. So this is where I would suggest you start. But in terms of, are you asking about that? Or are you asking about the strategy that I take people through, or that I help people with?
Like the strategy.
Okay, perfect. So it's called Break. Break. So B, the first one, break the trance. Recognize that this isn't your voice. It's a spell, and a spell is you're in a trance. So catch it, interrupt it, don't overthink it. This is the trance of shame, and that already disrupts the loop instantly. Then R. So refuse to engage. And this is where Dr. Romani's acronym comes up as well. Deep. Don't defend, don't engage, don't explain, and don't personalize. So you don't give it any fuel and you can just say, not today. Then you go to E, so BRE. E is for expose the lie. Then you want to call out the shame based program. This is control. This is not mine. Speaking that truth or even going through it in your head it already takes away its power. And then you want to anchor it. Come back to your A for anchor. Come back to your body. Feel your breath. Feel your feet. Sit, look at what's around you. So this is really working with the nervous system. Remind your nervous system that you're safe, you're sovereign, that you're here. And then, okay, the last one is to kick it out. Shake it off, shake it out of your body, stomp it off. This isn't mine. Just evict that spell from your body and mind. And I love talking about it as a spell or a trance, because that's exactly what it is. It has us under this illusion that this is who we are, that this is the voice of some truth. And it's an absolute lie.
Wow, that's really interesting. And I'll make sure to add the details about it in the show notes. And also, if our listeners they would like to connect with you, what would be the best way?
Yeah, the best way on social media, I am the trauma matrix. So TRAUMA dot matrix MATRIX. So you can find me on Instagram, on TikTok as well, and yeah, YouTube as well. I'm just starting that. So yeah, follow me on all the social medias and send me a message if this resonates with you. And I would say for the next step, really check out my free gift if this is making you think. Check out the free gift, which is 5 signs that it's time to break up with your inner narcissist, because those are kind of the first steps. The first step is to recognize that it's not you and to recognize that you have this problem. So you can find that on tinyurl.com/, not today, narc. NOT today, NARC.
Wonderful. I'll make sure to have all the links and details in the show notes. And Emma, you know what? This conversation it didn't feel like just an interview, but it was more of kind of a bit of recollecting, remembering, because so much of what we explore today, somewhere down the line, I have also lived too. So thank you so much for bringing this up, for sharing your journey, for enlightening with your experiences and insights, and giving us such a raw, honest edge on this.
Yeah, absolutely. Great to be here and to share this message and just to say, stop trying to decorate the cage of shame and claim your freedom. Get out of that cage. You don't have to live with shame anymore.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, to all the mindful listeners out there, that quiet inner voice that sounds like wisdom but is really shame, that endless loop of I should know better by now, the way high functioning can mask deep exhaustion. We have explored a lot today in this conversation, listeners, and I would like to invite all of you to check out Emma's resources, her free gift, connect with her. Just refer to the show notes along with this episode. And this is the kind of conversation that doesn't just inform, it transforms. Until next time, I'm your host, Sana, and this is The Mindful Living, where we talk about the things that matter because we have lived them. So be kind to yourself, and that voice you're learning to hear, it's not just healing, it's homecoming. Thank you.